Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
Hello everybody, welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading. Today we shall be analyzing the Hindu newspaper dated May 7, 2021 of the New Delhi edition. The topics to be discussed today have been presented on the screen. Timestamping for the same has been provided in the description box below. Now before starting with today's discussion, there is a small announcement for you with respect to the mains orientation class for the optional subjects. Are you confused as to which optional subject to choose? How to find the best teachers and academic support for your optional papers? And above all, how to prepare for the same during these difficult times? Rouse IS has the best solution for your optional subject related problems. We are conducting the optional orientation sessions on 22nd and 29th of May 2021, in which you can learn from the Rouse IS teachers about how to prepare for the optional subjects and how we are going to help you in scoring your best in the mains examination. The optional batches are starting from 4th June and 5th July 2021 via the online classes. Please do consider this as a call to all those who wish to completely cover the optional subject by December 2021. This will ensure the timely coverage of the optional subject, and then you can focus your attention completely on prelims either from Jan or February 2022. Rouse IS is offering guidance for political science, public administration, history, sociology, geography, economics and psychology from Delhi, Jaipur and Bangalore centers. In the description of this video, there is a link which you can use to register yourself for the orientation for the respective optional session. Please do join the orientation and kickstart your mains optional subject preparation from the team of best teachers in the civil service test preparation. All the best. In our weekly series of mains assignment question from the Daily News Simplified videos, for this particular week, you have a question related to the National Industrial Corridor Program. The question here is, what are the opportunities intended of the National Industrial Corridor Program in the country? This question has been asked for 10 marks and you are required to write the answer in 150 words. Before writing the answer to this particular question, I suggest you to go to the DNS dated 31st of December 2020, in which we have discussed about the National Industrial Corridor Program. Those of you who would be able to submit the answers by the end of Saturday, your answers would be evaluated by the teachers and faculties of the Rouse IS. The first article in today's newspaper has been taken from both page number 1 as well as page number 14. The article that we are going to discuss here is multifaceted in nature and shall be important both from the perspective of international relations as well as Indian economy. See, before discussing various facets of this particular article, let us first understand the background to this particular article. See, we all know that the global community is grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic. During such times, the patents which have been issued on the vaccines and medicines dealing with the COVID-19, they can act as a major hindrance to ensure affordable, inclusive and equitable healthcare. This is so because when a company gets a patent, such a company would have the exclusive monopoly to manufacture such a product for the next 20 years. Under such circumstances, such a company may sell the product at an extremely higher prices. Secondly, since it is a single company which is manufacturing such a product, there could be a lower availability of such a patented vaccine or a medicine in the market. So both higher prices as well as lower availability of patented products such as the vaccines and medicines dealing with the COVID-19 can go against the interest of poor and developing economies. Hence, in order to ensure affordable, inclusive and equitable healthcare, India, along with South Africa, had submitted a proposal before the World Trade Organization in the month of December 2020. Through such a proposal, India had recommended for a temporary waiver on the COVID-related technologies which basically are used in order to manufacture the vaccines and medicines. So far, India's stand was opposed by a number of countries including USA. However, the Biden administration in USA has recently reversed its stand and has supported India's recommendation for a temporary waiver. Apart from that, a number of other countries have also come on board and they have supported India's stand. These include some of the developed economies as well, such as France, New Zealand, etc. However, India's stand has come to be opposed by a large number of pharmaceutical companies as well as the advanced economies such as the European Union, UK, etc. So basically, the pharma companies and these advanced countries believe that if we provide for a temporary waiver, then whatever profits the pharma companies are earning, that profits they would not be able to earn. So presently, there is a raging debate. This debate is over. Should we provide a temporary waiver on the COVID-related technologies used to manufacture the vaccines and medicines? On one hand, countries such as India believe that the waiver on patents would bring down the prices, enhance the production, and it will be able to save lives and livelihoods of the people. On the other hand, the pharmaceutical companies, which are considered to be more of profit oriented, they do believe that a temporary waiver would hinder innovation, and they have also come up with a very interesting argument that a temporary waiver may not actually lead to increase in the production. So the article that we are going to discuss here shall be important both from the perspective of prelims as well as the mains examination. See, from the perspective of the prelims examination, you should be aware about certain basics of the TRIPS agreement. This has already been covered by us in our DNS dated 4th of February 2021. Nevertheless, we will be covering the basics of TRIPS agreement once again in the form of MCQs later on. Second one is about the exceptions about the TRIPS agreement, which I had recently covered in the DNS dated 5th of May 2021. And the third aspect is about the mechanism for providing the waiver under the TRIPS agreement. These aspects will become important from the perspective of the prelims examination. As far as the mains examination is concerned, you should be aware about both pros as well as cons of waiving of the patents to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, once we complete the discussion of this particular article, we will be taking up certain prelims-based questions for the practice. Apart from the prelims-based question for the practice, a mains-based question for the practice here could be the patent waivers on the COVID-related vaccines, medicines, etc. is a simple but a wrong answer to a complex problem. Critically analyze. So the demand of the question is to critically analyze, wherein you are required to highlight both pros as well as cons and then take a final stand as to whether we should waive off the patents for the COVID-related vaccines and the medicines. So having discussed the background, let us get into this particular article and try to understand as to what exactly do you mean by the waiver on patents, what are the arguments in favor, what are the arguments against, and is there any other third way that is apart from waiving of the patents on the COVID-19 related technologies. I hope all of you must be aware about the basic concepts related to patents. See, the companies spend substantial amount of money on research and development to come up with a new innovative product. Now, for example, the pharmaceutical companies spend substantial amount of money on research and development and they come up with a life-saving drug. Now, when this life-saving drug is released in the market and if other pharma companies are able to manufacture this life-saving drug and sell it in the market, then the pharmaceutical company that has developed this life-saving drug, that pharmaceutical company would not be able to recover the money which it has invested in research and development. Hence, in order to incentivize the companies to spend on research and development and to come up with the innovative products, we do issue the patents. Patents once issued to a particular company, they will be applicable for the next 20 years. And during the next 20 years, such a company would have the exclusive monopoly to manufacture such a patented drug. Now, for example, all of you must be aware about the remdesivir injections, which are now commonly used to treat the people infected by COVID-19. Now, this particular remdesivir is actually patented by a US-based pharma company known as Gilead, which means that this pharma company has an exclusive monopoly to manufacture remdesivir for the next 20 years. Apart from that, this particular US-based pharma company can also enter into voluntary licensing agreements with the other pharmaceutical companies. It can transfer the technological know-how or the process of manufacturing of remdesivir to other pharma companies, and through such voluntary licensing agreements, it can give permission to other pharma companies to manufacture this patented drug. Now, for example, in case of India, Gilead has entered into voluntary licensing agreement with a pharma company known as Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. So Dr. Reddy's Laboratories is a one which is also manufacturing remdesivir in India. And this is possible because of a voluntary licensing agreement between Gilead and Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Now, this is what happens during the normal circumstances. Apart from that, you're also aware about the exceptions provided under the patents, such as the compulsory licensing, parallel imports, etc., which we had discussed recently. But the problem here is these exceptions provided under the TRIPS agreement, they are considered to be extremely time consuming and a complex process. Hence, in order to avoid these problems, what we do have is a temporary waiver on patents. So what exactly do you mean by waiver on patents? This would mean that any pharmaceutical company can manufacture, distribute and sell the patented product without the consent of the patented holder or without entering into a voluntary licensing agreement with the patent holder. So if you provide for a temporary waiver on patents, any pharmaceutical company across the world would be able to sell a patented product without having the patent or without entering into a voluntary licensing agreement with the patented holder. Now, such kind of waiver has actually been provided under various agreements under the World Trade Organization. But there are two conditions which are required to be fulfilled if we have to provide for a temporary waiver on patents. The first condition is, obviously, since it is an exceptional provision, it can be used only under the exceptional circumstances, such as the ones which we are dealing right now. And the second one is, this has to be decided only through consensus among all the WTO member countries. So only when all the WTO member countries agree to a temporary waiver on patents, this would be possible. Usually, this is decided during the ministerial conference, which is considered to be the highest decision-making body under the World Trade Organization. So having understood as to what exactly is a waiver on patents and how it would benefit us, let us try to understand the arguments in favor and the arguments against. With respect to arguments in favor, one of the most compelling reasons for waiving of the patents to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic is obviously the need to save the lives. See, one of the most important and a positive development that has taken place in the year 2021 is the availability of vaccines. However, the problem here is the production of vaccines has not been ramped up. So even today, there is a demand-supply mismatch. Secondly, the prices of vaccines in some of the advanced economies is even today quite higher. And thirdly, according to a study carried out by the World Health Organization, almost around 130 poor and developing countries have even today not received a single dosage of vaccine. So what does this mean? This clearly shows that in spite of the technological breakthrough which we have achieved with respect to vaccines, we have not been able to ramp up the production of vaccines and medicines. We have not been able to provide for equitable distribution of vaccines, and we have not been able to provide vaccines at affordable cost. In order to understand this, you can simply have a look at this particular chart, which shows the extent of immunization coverage
in the countries across the world. This is as on May 5th, 2021. As you can see, the extent of vaccination coverage in countries such as UK, USA is higher at around 50%. In contrast, just have a look at the extent of vaccination coverage in Africa, Asia, as well as India. It is even today below 10% in India. In Africa, it is in fact much lower than below 1%. So what does this show? This clearly shows that the technological breakthrough has not been able to benefit the global community. So the COVID-19 pandemic is an exceptional crisis. In fact, it is considered to be a once in a century crisis. To deal with once in a century crisis, there is a need to promote global cooperation. And such a global cooperation can be facilitated when certain international rules, international regulations, international agreements are fine-tuned to meet our immediate needs. And in this particular case, the TRIPS agreement has to be fine-tuned in order to meet the needs of the global community, in particular, the needs of the poor and developing countries. Thirdly, in order to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, countries across the world have imposed the lockdowns. This has obviously led to contraction in the global GDP. For example, according to Economics Survey, 90% of the countries across the world have faced a contraction in the GDP size because of the COVID-19. Similarly, according to a study carried out by World Bank, 1.4% of the global population have been pushed into extreme poverty because of the lockdown imposed due to COVID-19. So one way to resume the economic activity and bring some hope for the global community is to provide for the higher vaccination coverage across the world. And lastly, we must realize that the COVID-19 virus, which initially emerged in Wuhan, has wreaked havoc on the entire global community. In a way, this has shown us that the global community is strongly interrelated. No country can afford to remain isolated during such times. So unprecedented times call for unprecedented measures. So one of the unprecedented measure which India has proposed is a waiver on the patents for a temporary duration of time. So please do understand here, India has asked for only a temporary waiver. India has not asked for a permanent waiver. So being a temporary waiver, it could be applicable only for a certain duration of time, that is until the pandemic ends. So having looked at the arguments in favor, let us have a look at the other side of the debate, that is the arguments against. So basically the temporary waiver on patents has been opposed by the global pharma companies on account of multiple reasons. So what are the reasons for the opposition? First and foremost, the pharmaceutical companies have spent huge amount of money on research and development to develop the vaccines and medicines. So these pharma companies believe that if you provide for a temporary waiver on patents, then the pharmaceutical companies would not be able to recover their money which they have spent on research and development, and this could lead to huge amount of loss. Apart from that, very interestingly, the pharmaceutical companies have also claimed that a temporary waiver on patents can actually go against the interest of the global community. So let's understand as to how it can go against the interests of the global community. Now just say that this time we have provided for a temporary waiver on patents and we have made available vaccines and medicines to the poor people at affordable price. Now let's say, God forbid, the global community faces another pandemic, say after around 10 to 15 years. So that time the pharmaceutical companies would be apprehensive of making investment in research and development to develop new medicines or vaccines to deal with the pandemic. They would be apprehensive that what if the governments across the world then decide to issue for a temporary waiver on patents once again. In that particular case, once again, whatever money they have invested in research and development, they would not be able to recover back. So in a way, the pharmaceutical companies have been arguing that a temporary waiver can go against the interests of the global community because it will discourage investment in research and development. See, the overall intention behind providing for a temporary waiver on patents is to increase the production and bring down their prices so as to make available the vaccines and medicines at affordable price. So behind this particular temporary waiver, there is an assumption. What is the assumption? The assumption here is it is the patents which have led to decrease in the production and increase in the prices of vaccines as well as medicines. So the pharmaceutical companies, they are of an argument that the patents alone are not the reason for higher prices or the lower production of these patented products, which means in a way, apart from patents, there are other external factors which have led to decrease in the production or increase in the prices of vaccines and medicines. So what are these external factors or the extrinsic factors? These factors include the availability of raw materials. So unless we do not have adequate amount of raw materials to manufacture the patented drug, we will not be able to increase their production. Secondly, as discussed before, a particular company that has a patent can enter into voluntary licensing agreements with the other manufacturers to increase the production of the patented product. But what if the other pharmaceutical companies may not have adequate amount of technological knowledge in order to manufacture such a patented product? Now, for example, let's say this US-based pharmaceutical company, Gilead, wants to enter into a voluntary licensing agreement with a pharmaceutical company based in a poor country in Africa. Now, the question is, does this pharmaceutical company based in poor country of Africa has a manufacturing capability to manufacture the remdesivir injections? Now, in this particular case, Gilead may want to share the knowledge of manufacturing of remdesivir to this particular pharmaceutical company based in a poor country. But this pharmaceutical company may not have adequate manufacturing capability. So in this particular case, we can see clearly that patents cannot be the sole reason for not ramping up the production. So basically the pharmaceutical companies are arguing that they can actually enter into voluntary licensing agreements to increase the production of the patented drug. But they're handicapped because a number of pharmaceutical companies may not have the manufacturing capability to manufacture the patented drug. This is particularly true of the pharma companies based in the poor economies. The next one is with respect to the lower profit margins to the pharma companies. So right now the governments across the world have fixed the ceiling prices on the vaccines. So the pharmaceutical companies are compulsorily required to sell the vaccines to the government at a lower price, because of which even if we provide for a temporary waiver on patents, a number of pharmaceutical companies may not willingly come forward to manufacture and sell the vaccines because the amount of profits which they will be able to earn is quite lower. The next aspect is with respect to the complexity that is involved in the manufacturing of technologically advanced vaccines. Particularly if you look at the vaccines such as the mRNA vaccines, they are considered to be technologically advanced, and these vaccines as such cannot be manufactured by all the pharmaceutical companies across the world. They can be manufactured only by technologically advanced pharmaceutical companies. So once again, even if you provide for a temporary waiver on patents, the pharmaceutical companies may not be in a position to take that advantage simply because they do not have adequate capability to manufacture these complex vaccines. And lastly, if we enable all the pharmaceutical companies to manufacture the patented vaccines as well as medicines, then this could lead to the entry of the poor quality vaccines and medicines into the market. So if you look at the both sides of the debate, on one hand, you have countries such as India who believe that a temporary waiver on patents would lead to increase in the production, decrease in the prices, and would ensure equitable and affordable healthcare. On the other hand, you have the pharmaceutical companies who believe that a temporary waiver would go against the spirit of TRIPS agreement. It could discourage the investment in research and development. More importantly, a very interesting argument that it could go against the interest of the global community. In a nutshell, the pharmaceutical companies believe that a temporary waiver may not lead to increase in the production or decrease in the prices. Hence, in order to break this particular deadlock, recently, the Director General of World Trade Organization has proposed for a third way. This was recently published in the Financial Times newspaper. According to the proposal put forward by the Director General of World Trade Organization, first and foremost, we should not provide for a temporary waiver on patents. Instead of providing for a temporary waiver on patents, we must encourage more number of private sector entities who have the patents to enter into voluntary licensing agreements with other pharmaceutical companies. Now, for example, in case of India, the Serum Institute of India is manufacturing the Covishield vaccine. Now, this has been possible because of a licensing agreement between AstraZeneca and the Serum Institute of India. So, what can possibly be done is AstraZeneca has to enter into more number of voluntary licensing agreements with the other pharmaceutical companies both in India as well as other countries. Similarly, the Chinese company Sinovac Biotech has entered into voluntary licensing agreement with a Indonesian pharmaceutical company known as Biopharma, and by doing that, we have been able to provide for the vaccines in Indonesia. So according to this particular proposal, without providing for a temporary waiver on patents, we would be able to significantly ramp up the production and bring down the prices of vaccines as well as medicines. So having understood the arguments in favor, arguments against, and a third way which has been proposed, please do let us know as to what are your viewpoints with respect to a temporary waiver on patents. You can let us know your viewpoints in the comment section given below. So having discussed this particular article in detail, let us take up certain prelims-based questions for the practice. The first question here is, which among the following cannot be patented in India under the Indian Patents Act? Now in this particular slide, I have incorporated all the prelims pointers related to the TRIPS agreement. As you can see here, in order to issue patents, there are three criteria that are required to be fulfilled under the Indian Patents Act. These three criteria are novelty, inventive step, and capable of industrial application. At the same time, the Patents Act provides that in some of the cases, the patents may not be issued. These include the frivolous invention, invention that harms the public order or morality, a method of agriculture, traditional knowledge, computer program. So when we say computer program here, the computer programs are protected under the Copyrights Act and they are not protected under the Patents Act. Next is inventions related to the atomic energy, plants and animals, and mere discovery of scientific principle. So if you go back to the options here, all of these four cannot be patented in India. Accordingly, the right answer would be D. Coming to next practice question, consider the following statements related to geographical indication tag. The first statement here is the geographical indication tag can be issued for the protection of agriculture, natural or a manufactured product. The statement which is given here is correct. The second one is the registration of GI tag is valid for a period of 20 years. It is not valid for a period of 20 years. Rather, it is valid for a period of 10 years. And at the same time, it can be renewed from time to time. The third statement is the GI tag can be issued for the protection of the foreign products. Yes, the GI tag can indeed be issued for the protection of the foreign products. As you can see here we have a list of the products from other countries which have been issued with the GI tag in India. Some of these products include champagne from France, tequila from Mexico, Irish whiskey from Ireland, and so on. So in this case, the right answer would be 1 and 3 only. Now coming to next practice question about the copyrights in India. The question here is, copyrights comes into existence as soon as a work is created and no formality is required to be completed for acquiring the copyright. This statement here is correct. See, when a person creates an artistic or a literary work, automatically the copyrights comes into existence, and as such, no separate formality is required in order to get the copyright. But at the same time, if a person believes that his copyrights have been violated, in such case, a person can file for a copyright and then later on file a case of copyright infringement. The second statement here is the copyright is applicable for a period of 10 years. Now this statement here is wrong. In case of artistic or literary works, in case of India, The copyright is applicable for the entire lifetime of the author plus 60 years after his death. The third statement is the software programs can be copyrighted in India. So as I discussed, this statement here is correct. So the right answer to this particular question would be B, 1 and 3 only. Now with respect to next two practice questions, that is practice question 4 as well as 5, please do attempt these questions on your own and let us know your response in the comments section. In case if you want to know the answers to these questions, you can go to the PDF in which I have incorporated all the prelims pointers related to the TRIPS agreement. With this, let us now take up the next article. The next article appears on page number 14. This particular article highlights that the Finance Ministry has recently released almost around rupees 9,800 crores in the form of revenue deficit grants to almost around 17 states in India. See, recently in our DNS dated 1st of April 2021, I had discussed in detail the second report of the 15th Finance Commission. The second report of the 15th Finance Commission is applicable for the next 5 years from 2021 to 2026. In this particular DNS, I had discussed about the vertical distribution of taxes among the states in India, the horizontal distribution of taxes among the multiple states, as well as the grants given by the Finance Commission to the different states. One among the most important grants recommended by the Finance Commission happens to be the revenue deficit grants. Now, the concept of revenue deficit grants I have already discussed in this particular DNS, but let me revise this once again for your benefit. See, as discussed, all the states in case of India do get a share of the central divisible pool of central taxes. According to 15th Finance Commission, this is at 41%. So this 41% of the total taxes collected by the center is distributed among multiple states in India according to this particular formula. Now this we call it as devolution of taxes. Now, in spite of devolution of taxes, some of the states in case of India may still have certain amount of revenue deficit. Now, for example, let's take the case of the government of Tamil Nadu. Now, the government of Tamil Nadu may have a revenue expenditure of say rupees 100, and let's say it has a revenue receipts of rupees 50. In this particular case, the government of Tamil Nadu is facing a revenue deficit of 100 minus 50, that is rupees 50. Now this revenue deficit of rupees 50 is faced by Tamil Nadu in spite of the devolution of taxes to the government of Tamil Nadu. That is, post the devolution of taxes, the government of Tamil Nadu is still facing the revenue deficit. Hence, in order to compensate for this revenue deficit, the Finance Commission recommends for the revenue deficit grants. Now, the grants would be given to the states in such a manner that the revenue deficit of the states would become equal to zero. In this particular case, the government of Tamil Nadu would get a revenue deficit grant of rupees 50, because of which the revenue deficit in case of Tamil Nadu would become equal to zero. According to 15th Finance Commission, 17 states in case of India would get this revenue deficit grant. So please do understand here that this revenue deficit grant is given post the tax devolution and not prior to the tax devolution. Apart from this particular concept of revenue deficit grants, one also needs to be aware about the recommendations given by the 15th Finance Commission in its second report. This is quite important for your upcoming prelims examination. Already all the aspects have already been covered in my DNS dated 1st of April 2021. So in case if you have not gone through this particular DNS, please do go through this particular DNS and understand various facets related to the 15th Finance Commission. Further, based upon our discussion, please do attempt this particular practice-based question related to the revenue deficit grants. Please do let us know as to what do you think is the answer to this particular question in the comments section given below. With this, let us now take up the next article. Next, on page number 13, we have an article that is titled as Russia approves one dose Sputnik Light.
Earlier, in August 2020, Russia had unveiled a vaccine to deal with coronavirus. The vaccine was called as the Sputnik V vaccine, and it was named after the first satellite launched from Soviet Union. The Sputnik V vaccine is actually a double dosage vaccine, which means that if a particular person needs to develop immunity against the coronavirus, then a person requires to take two dosages. The first dosage is referred to as the prime dosage, and the second dosage, which is required to be taken after a certain duration of time, is known as the booster dosage. Now, the Russian government has recently approved a single dosage version of the Sputnik V vaccine. This single dosage version of Sputnik V vaccine is known as the Sputnik Light. So from the perspective of the UPSC prelims examination, one needs to be aware as to how exactly the Sputnik vaccines work. Now, before understanding the working mechanism, let us brush up as to how the coronavirus affects the body and how the body's immune system responds. I hope all of you must be aware that the virus cannot replicate on its own. It requires a host cell in order to replicate itself. In case of the COVID-19, the spike proteins are basically responsible for infecting the human host cell. The spike proteins of the COVID-19 attaches itself to the human host cell. Once it attaches to the host cell, it then injects the RNA into the human cell. Now, this particular RNA injected by COVID-19, in fact, carries instructions to the human cell in order to produce its own copies. So, in a way, the COVID-19 is infecting and hijacking the genetic material of the human host cell, and then it gives instructions to our own human cell in order to produce its own copies. Now, these spike proteins of the COVID-19 can be considered to be kind of antigens, which are kind of special kind of proteins. Now, in response to these antigens associated with the COVID-19, the body's immune system then develops the antibodies. So, these antibodies attach to the antigens, in this particular case, the spike proteins of the COVID-19, and thus try to kill the virus. Now, this particular response to the body's immune system is in turn used by us in order to develop different types of vaccines. So, in a way, the vaccines try to mimic a foreign body in order to trigger the body's immune system. So, as and when the body's immune system gets triggered, the memory cells are created. So, in future, whenever there is an attack by a foreign body such as virus, then automatically the memory cells will then create more amount of antibodies, and thus our body's immune system will be much more better prepared in order to handle a foreign body such as the coronavirus. Now, in order to mimic a foreign body, the vaccines can use different kind of components. The first one is we can use a live or a weakened or an attenuated virus. Now, for example, in case of oral polio vaccine, we actually use a live or attenuated virus. Now, this particular virus that we use is actually quite weak. So, it is not capable enough of causing infection. But at the same time, it is capable enough of triggering the body's immune system. So, in this particular case, we can actually insert a live, weakened or attenuated virus. Secondly, instead of inserting the entire virus into the human body, we can insert a specific component of the COVID-19 which is responsible for the infection, which in this particular case could be the spike protein. So in the second case, instead of inserting the entire COVID-19 virus, we can insert the spike protein of the COVID-19 into the human body. So as and when the spike protein enters into the human body, the body's immune system would get triggered, leading to the formation of memory cells. The second type of vaccines in this particular case, wherein we are inserting the spike protein, they are referred to as the subunit vaccines. In the third type of vaccines, rather than inserting the entire virus or a specific part of the virus, we can insert instructions or the RNA of the coronavirus
into the human body. So as you can see, the RNA of the coronavirus basically gives instructions to the human host cell to replicate its own copies. So instead of inserting the entire virus or the spike protein, we can insert only the RNA into the human host cell. When this is inserted, the body's immune system may also get triggered. So if you look at the working mechanism of the Sputnik 5 vaccine, the Sputnik 5 vaccine actually inserts the RNA of the COVID-19 into the human body. But obviously this RNA on its own cannot be inserted into the human body. It has to be incorporated into some form of carrier or a vector. The vector in case of the Sputnik 5 vaccine happens to be the adenovirus. So the entire genetic material of the adenovirus is stripped off. After stripping off the entire genetic material of the adenovirus, the RNA of the COVID-19 is inserted into the adenovirus, and then this adenovirus along with the RNA of the COVID-19 is then inserted into the human body. So if you look at the working mechanism here, as you can see, the vectors or the carriers here happens to be the adenovirus. Basically, we use two types of adenovirus. One variant is known as 26 and the other variant is known as 5. Not very important from the perspective of the UPSC prelims examination. But what you should know here is this AD26 is used as a prime dose. That is, it is used in the first dosage, whereas AD5 it is used in the booster dose. So the Sputnik 5 vaccine, as I discussed earlier, is basically a two dosage vaccine. So in the first dosage we use the adenovirus 26 along with the RNA of the COVID-19, and in the booster dosage we use the adenovirus 5 along with the RNA of the COVID-19. So when these vectors along with the RNA, when it is inserted into the human body, the RNA in this particular case gives instructions in order to create the spike protein, and in response to the creation of the spike protein, the body's immune system gets triggered, leading to the development of the antibodies. Now this particular article basically highlights that the Sputnik Light, which has been recently approved by Russia, is actually a single shot version of the Sputnik 5 vaccine. So instead of taking a prime dose and booster dose, in case of the Sputnik Light, we would be required to take a single dosage only. So according to the media reports, the Sputnik Light is considered to have certain advantages over the existing double shot vaccines. For example, it is much cheaper. According to media reports, this would cost us less than $10. Secondly, since it is a single dosage vaccine, we would be in a position to double the vaccination rates. Thirdly, it has got higher efficacy in comparison to the other two-shot vaccines. And lastly, it has proved to be effective against all the new strains of the virus. So these are some of the important aspects which one should know with respect to this particular article. Now the next article appears on page number 13. The article is titled as China halts the economic dialogue with Australia. Now the various aspects of this particular article have already been discussed by Vibosa in our DNS dated 6th of December 2020. In this particular article, he has comprehensively covered as to what all issues have arisen between Australia and China in the last 1 year and its implications for India. So since this particular article has already been discussed in much greater detail, we will not be discussing this article once again. The link to this particular article has been provided in the description box below for your reference. With this, we have come to the end of today's discussion. Now let us have a look at the question for the day.